Hi everybody. So you may have heard of the Battle of Bosworth during the War of the Roses, but did you know that there was actually a final battle, the Battle of East Stoke in Nottinghamshire? Well, today I'm going to take you for a walk around to where the field is of East Stoke and then talk about a little bit of history about the place. It's absolutely fascinating. And I've wanted to do this walk for a long time, so I hope you stay with us. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and I hope you enjoy it, everybody. Hello everybody and welcome. So you join us today right next to a place called Eden Hall, and we're actually at a place called East Stoke. We're on the outskirts of East Stoke, and today we're doing a very special walk because this is the only place in Nottinghamshire that is classed as a registered battlefield in the Battle of East Stoke, which was the final battle of the War of the Roses. And this walk that we're doing today, as you can see, is going to take us around the area where it happened. So I'm just going to read you this from the King's Herald. And from thence, on the Friday, the King, understanding that his enemies and rebels drew towards Newark ward, passing by Southwell and the far side of the Trent, the King and his host removed their wards and lodged that night beside a village called Radcliffe, and so in good order and array before 9 o'clock, beside a village called Stoke, a large mile out of Newark, his forward reconnoitred his enemies and rebels. So Stoke Field was the final pitched battle of the War of the Roses. Warfare broke out intermittently between 1455 and 1487 as the houses of York and Lancaster fought over the crown. In 1485, Henry Tudor defeated Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth Field. Now you may know that Bosworth battlefield is very famous, but obviously this Stoke battlefield is not actually that well known. So after winning the Battle of Bosworth, Henry Tudor was crowned the king and finally united England. So this is the map of where we are and where we're going to be walking. And here's the map of where both parties went, and they finally crossed paths. So actually they drew in from Oxton, which I've done before, a walk on, round to Southwell and then through to Fiskerton, across the river, and then they had the battle at East Stoke, and that was the Earl of Lincoln's troops. So landing at Foundry in Furness, Lincoln marched south through Yorkshire with a force of 8,000 troops, which were mainly made up of German and Swiss mercenaries, Irish rebels, disaffected Englishmen. The rebels crossed the Trent on the 15th of June around the Fiskerton area and made for the village of East Stoke. Lincoln prepared for battle on the high ground to the southwest of the village. Henry was at Kenilworth Castle when he heard of the Yorkist landing. His progress through the Midlands was not rapid, and his intention seemed to have been to stop Lincoln at the River Trent. On the 13th and 14th of June, the Royalist army was encamped immediately south of Nottingham. Henry was awaiting a large force commanded by Lord Strange. Strange was the son of Thomas Stanley, Earl of Derby, whose defection led to Henry's victory at Bosworth. The night before the battle, Henry was at Radcliffe, and 5 local men were selected to act as guides the next morning to bring the royal army to East Stoke. So it's absolutely gorgeous weather for this walk today, and it's just hard to imagine what happened here all those centuries ago, where thousands of men fought and died across these fields at the Battle of East Stoke. And we are heading in the direction where the Royalists would have gone and engaged in battle. I say the king didn't seem to think that the enemy would have made it across the River Trent by the time they got here. But this has been a walk. It's been on my list for 3 or 4 years to do. I'm glad we're finally getting the chance to do it, especially on an absolutely gorgeous day. I'll show you in the distance over here. If we look where we stood in the viewpoint, so there's Newark Sugar Factory in the distance over there. Then we have Newark. Beautiful views, absolutely beautiful. Alright, onwards we go, my friends. So if I show you the map here, you can see where the battle was fought. So here, the Battle of Stoke Field was fought on foot. In keeping with the English warfare of the time, on the morning of 16th of June 1487, 8,000 strong Yorkist army was clustered in a single mass on the high ground southwest of East Stoke. So I guess this is the high ground over here. It's known locally as the Burren Furlong and dominates the Foss Way to the south and Drent Valley to the north and east. Only the Earl of Oxford's 6,000 men were involved in the battle, having approached along the upper foss after being shown the way by local guides. The Yorkists appear to have come down from their position on the high ground, possibly hoping to defeat Oxford's troops before Henry and Strange arrived. The battle began with the Royalist archers taking a great toll on Lincoln's lightly armoured troops, so they were shot through and full of arrows like hedgehogs. There's more of information here from Polydore Virgil, 1513. The king, having formed up his whole force into 3 columns, marched to the village of Stoke, halted before the Earl's camp, and on level ground they offered battle. Accepting the chance, the Earl led forward his troops and at a given signal gave battle. Both sides fought with the bitterest of energy. Those men of the mountains, the Germans, so practised in warfare, were at the forefront of the battle and yielded little to the English in valour. Meanwhile, Martin Schwartz, their leader, was not inferior to many in his courage and resolution. The fighting was sore and sharp. The majority of the Yorkist force were poorly armed, and over time the Royalist troops began to push back. This retreat turned into a full-blown rout, and at this point the Yorkist cause was lost, and a massacre began as they tried to escape over the steep hill leading back towards the ford at Fiskerton, which is where we're heading now, and hopefully we'll get to the top of here and you'll see Fiskerton. So of course now you can see the viewpoint. So this was the highest point up here, and this is where the mercenaries had to run back down the hill, back to the river, and they were getting slaughtered, absolutely slaughtered. Okay, so I'm using my phone now to zoom in, and then you can see the bottom of the hill and the River Trent, and then you've got Fiskerton in the distance over there. Try and pan the camera around so you get a good view of it. It's quite windy up here. You've got the sugar factory, the power station's there. And yeah, you've got the river and the village in the distance over there. So I'm guessing the battle would have raged down there, because that's where the crossing is. The crossing's down there in Fiskerton. So the battle would have raged down these fields down here. But yeah, just want to show you what it looks like. And that is Fiskerton and the River Trent. So this is a very popular fishing spot. As you can see, if you've got a boat, you've got to go to the right. So yeah, the fish are pretty much undisturbed on this side, but what an amazing place. So serene and peaceful. It's just so hard to imagine there being a big battle here and thousands of men dying. It's sad, it's sad. And someone said to me once, would you have liked to have lived in the 1500s during the War of the Roses? No chance. I'd have died young, and I probably would have been fighting in some kind of battle somewhere. There's the weir and the lock. Right folks, so now we're heading towards the Red Gutter and across the fields on a public footpath. We're leaving the River Trent now. And now imagine these trees wouldn't have been here. They always say you have the advantage on the high ground, and you can see at the low ground in Piscaton over there is where they crossed. They'd have been over this side, and then the Royalists would have been over that hill. This is the ridge line where the massacre happened. The massacre would have happened around here, and unfortunately thousands of men died and bodies were scattered all across this hillside here, and blood flowed down here, hence why the name Red Gutter. And the blood made its way to the Trent and turned the River Trent red with blood. So this is the location here at the bottom. Thereupon the remaining enemy troops turned to fight, while fleeing were either captured or killed. Indeed, it was only then, when the battle was over, that it was fully apparent how rash had been the spirit inspiring the enemy soldiers. For of their leaders, John, Earl of Lincoln, Francis, Lord Lovell, Thomas Broughton, and most bold Martin Swartz, and the Irish captain Thomas Geraldine were slain in that place. That's from Polydore Virgil in 1513. By late morning, the Earl of Oxford's troops had driven back the Yorkist attacks. Due to the presence of the rest of King Henry's army to the west, the Yorkists were forced to flee east in the direction of the village, or north towards the encampment overlooking the River Trent. The Red Gutter, which is where we are now, is a narrow defile cutting through the encampment. Local folklore has identified it as the site of a massacre during the battle. The name Red Gutter is said to indicate how the area ran red with blood. However, a simpler reason may be that the deep red clay soil was given its name, basically. It's easy to see how a panicked mass of soldiers would be forced into a bottleneck coming down here as they tried to escape the Oxford's troops. Analysis of historical sources have suggested that 4,000 Yorkists and up to half of Oxford's troops were slain in battle, giving the total number of deaths here of around 7,000. The king then ordered a purge of the rebels, and the 17th and 18th of June saw the English and Irish fugitives being hunted across the surrounding area. In contrast, the German mercenaries were sent home without payment, an example of the importance placed on mercenary troops during the period. 7,000 troops killed in this one area alone, in one battle. Mostly around this field, this area of Stoke, East Stoke, and the Battle of Stoke Field. Okay, so now we're walking along the side of where the Red Gutter would be, which obviously could be the red clay, or it could be the blood of, unfortunately, the many men and probably children, I don't know, young fighting soldiers died along here. But now we're heading to East Stoke village, and there's a church, so we're going to go and check it out. See the snowdrops, guys? Plenty of snowdrops for us to enjoy. So if you go that way, if you follow this path along here, there would have been a crossing to Fiskerton village. In April 1982, workmen were recutting a ditch alongside the Foss Way, and they uncovered the remains of what at the time were thought to be at least 11 individuals aged between 17 and 25. The bones were not laid out carefully and bore the hallmarks of a battlefield grave. Later analysis led us to believe there were only 9 partial bodies. The only intact skull was from a youth who was around 20 years old, who suffered a brutal death. He had a blow to the ear, which was probably fatal, but also evidence of healed earlier wounds. The reconstruction here on the right depicts the moment of the battle and what happened to him. Brutal, absolutely brutal. The remains of the bodies are stored at the museum resource centre immediately south, so it'd have been this area here. They find several pits were containing burials from the battle have been discovered in this area, so this is obviously where they buried loads of the bodies from the battle. Obviously the battle was raging along this ridge onto the field, so this is where they evidently buried a lot of the bodies. So from Jean Molyneux in 1490, he said, "There died the Earl of Lincoln, most noble and renowned in arms, Sir Martin Schwartz, a most enterprising knight, and of the greatest courage, along with numerous notable people, in such great number that their whole army of only 200 escaped, of whom those in the 2 days following who were found to be Irish and English were hanged, and those who were foreigners were dismissed." So as I said, they were already sent home with no pay. We are right next to a church, folks. So yeah, as the battle happened at the height of the summer, the corpses were buried immediately to reduce the threat of disease. The burials were in areas such as the roadside ditch to avoid burying the bodies in the open field system, which may have led them to being exposed to ploughing. The whereabouts of the bodies of the defeated Yorkist leaders of the rebellion have never been found. A local tradition states that Lincoln and Schwartz were both buried with willow stakes driven through their hearts beside a spring known as the Willow Rundle, the site of which is on Elston Lane. The spring supposedly came out of the ground to quench the thirst of the dying soldier who had prayed for water. So there's a memorial stone in the churchyard here, so we'll go and try and find it, which commemorated those that died during the battle. So let's head in and see if we can find it. That's assuming we can get into the churchyard. We ain't getting in that way because that's locked. The whole wall up there, look at that. Oh, it's an arch. Where's a bridge? It's a bridge. And that's a bridge. And the wall goes all the way along the top. Wow, the church is shut. And here is the stone to commemorate the dead. To commemorate the dead at Stoke Field, 16th of June 1487, John de la Pole, Earl of Lincoln, Sir Thomas Geraldine, Colonel Martin Schwartz, and 7,000 others, English, Irish and German. Wow. Wow, what a beautiful place. Wow. So have a look at this. Sir Rupert Bromley, 10th Baronet, 2nd of April 1936 to 18th of May 2018. And obviously that's before the first ambassador to the United States of America. Oh wow. Born September 13th, 1828, died in Washington, May 24th, 1902. Dear loving memory of the Right Honourable Julian Baron Porncofty, I think it said, of Preston. So I've sat down, just had a little drink, a little refreshment. Now we'll continue on our way. It's a massive church. It's really difficult to get on camera though. Well, it's not massive, it's just really wide. There's a bird of prey up there, you can hear him. Right, we're going to depart the church, continue our walk. I hope you're enjoying it. At the end I will give you a summary of the distance if you're thinking about doing it yourself. Oh, there's the hawk, look, he's there, look. You see him, guys? Yeah. Swooping low. Wow. A beautiful place. Right. This wall's amazing because the wall goes all the way along the top, and then you've got a bridge. Show, do you notice it's like a bridge, and then a bridge. Yeah. It goes over there. I wonder what that was used for. For all the memories, Nana. Yeah, the wind's really picking up. As we're now heading out. So yeah, apparently there was a foundry around here, which would explain the bridges. It is very windy now, folks. Stoke Hall, which you can't see from the churchyard. Oh, it's in the distance over there. Huge. Oh, he's there, look, in the tree. There's two of them, Shao. You see them? They're here, look. Come here, come here. Oh, wow. There's three of them. Oh, yeah. Hey, look.
They don't sit still, do they? They stop.
No. I don't know if you can pick that up. That's Stoke Hall. Okay, so we're in East Stoke, and this is the old East Stoke Women's Institute building here in the village. That's the other lane you can walk up. School Lane, leading to Humber Lane, which I think is the path you can join onto from the second sign we were visiting. So this is the East Stoke Women's Institute building. You can see it's quite old. Right, so we're now back onto the main road in East Stoke. Community post sign over there. And School Lane, which we've just come down. Just made us way down School Lane. So you can either start it here, the walk at School Lane, although you might struggle to get parked, or what you do is you park where we parked in the lay-by, which I'll show you, which is on the main road here. But it's about half a mile up this lane. So an interesting photo here from the RAF, which shows you where the church is here and where the actual village was here. This is the medieval section that was the village. The medieval village lied in these fields between the modern village and St Oswald's. There was house gardens, ridge, furloughs, hollyways. The village played an important part in the battle because the Yorkist troops retreated into the direction of the village to avoid Henry's reinforcements. However, the retreating troops were penned in by the hedges, the buildings and the lanes of the village. Not only would this have caused a big panic, but it also made the Yorkists a very easy target for the Royalists. And several mass graves were discovered in this area, which I've showed you from the photos down here. The heavy fighting took place in this actual area. So yeah, that brings us to the end of this walk. If you're thinking about doing it, then there's a lay-by here, which is not far away from the spa and the hall I showed you earlier, next to the roundabout, which is just ahead. So the total distance of that walk was 3.5 miles. So an absolute perfect walk. So you do have to walk the last section on the grass verge, but the grass verge is very wide and there's not many cars coming down here. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, everyone. Please remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new here. I would really appreciate it. And we're back again soon with another walk. Thank you and goodbye.